to it. Like, I manifested a situation that kind of blew up in my face. I'm embarrassed, I'm hurt. For the sake of continuity and for the sake of relatability, I'm gonna tell you guys the story. Beginning of the summer, I was dating someone. When we were done, I was raw. Got my cards read, as I usually do. I was finite. I was tired of hearing the same shit. I want to know who I'm gonna end up with. I want to know details about who is gonna walk into my life. Like, who's gonna be my final chapter? Like, where is this dating shit gonna end for me? And she's like, one brown skinned, not dark skinned, not light skinned, caramelly, with blonde hair. And it's not long and it's not short, but it's blonde, a lot taller than you. They're attractive. They have a lot of options. And you're gonna meet this person at work. I'm thinking somebody's gonna hit me up and ask me for a tattoo. So I'm being vigilant on my social whenever I go out. Like, I'm looking around, I got my eyes open for this blonde, tall person. And the only blonde person that I came across that I found extremely attractive was Amanda Grace. So I shot my shot, and when Amanda Grace just kind of ignored me, I realized it wasn't her. Then she ended up dyeing her hair blue and shaving all her hair off, so she's no longer blonde and no longer fits the description. And also, I don't think she's tall. Time passes, the summer passes, and I am not really thinking anything of anything at this point. Minding my own business. It's now July 18th. I'm working on a pilot called Seasoned. I usually come to all my shows prepared, but that day I didn't have a pen. Love of my life, Samantha, work bestie, walked into my life that day. She made a beeline towards me and she's like, you got a pen? I was like, I was about to ask you for one. So we hit it off immediately. She and I just clicked. She's like, you want to go outside? Let's go outside. Let's go to Crafty. It's like 100 and some change outside, but we were in a theater and inside it was like 30 degrees. I was completely unprepared that day. We went outside and we're talking with one of the set dressers. So Samantha is to my left, Jessie is to my right. I'm facing forward and then I see this tall brown skin girl with big titties and a small waist and big childbearing hips and an orange helmet get off her bike and go into the building that I had just come out from. By the way she's dressed, I'm assuming she's either I don't know, I didn't assume anything. I just saw her go in the door and I'm like, oh my God, did y'all see her? And they're like, see who? This girl looked good as hell. Like, who the fuck was that? I go inside and I go to try to look for her and I don't see her anywhere. She reminded me of the girl that I was just talking to. Looked alike, they had a similar physique, but the girl was like so much taller. Oh, there was something about her, like her swag just, whoo! Time passes. Summer passes, I don't meet anybody. That meets the description. I go to Pride, I don't meet anybody. I just, whatever, I don't think nothing of it. I get booked for a show, end up getting to Holding. Super late. I'm never late. I'm in wardrobe and there is a ton of bikers there. So it's mad leather, mad dudes. There's like 4 or 5 queer people. But the one thing I noticed, everybody in that bitch was black. Everybody in that bitch was Hispanic, Native, Indigenous, something. There were people of color. Okay, there were like 3 white people there. So I'm walking towards hair and makeup and I'm finding a place to sit down and get myself situated. I go back to wardrobe to get approved. Then I get a glimpse of someone walking in from outside. I recognized the walk immediately. I recognized the body. I recognized the height. She had on the same wife beater. My eyes just got big as hell. I'm like, no fucking way. And down on her, I'm like, I have a story to tell you. Saw you on another set. She's like, yeah, when? Right now I don't remember, but let me get myself situated and I'm gonna tell you the whole story. And I did. How did I know it was her? Because I saw the orange helmet. I'm freaking out. I text Samantha, the girl is here in capital letters. And she's like, oh my God, did you talk to her? I was like, yes, I already asked her to marry me in typical lesbian fashion. She's like, oh my God, what'd she say? I was like, I don't know. She's a Leo sun, an Aries moon, and a Virgo rising. A lot of fire and a lot of nitpicking. She thinks she's better than everyone. She thinks she's too good for anyone. I can deal with arrogance. Well, I'm like, are you married? Are you poly? Are you a cheater? She's like, no, I'm single. I'm 44. No, I'm not a cheater. I'm not poly. And she just starts going off about how she don't want to be in a relationship because relationships are expensive and she can't. I'm like, okay, cool. We get to set. She is bumping into me. She's standing where I'm standing. She's talking to me. She's starting conversations. She's asking me stuff. I guess her way of flirting is by like nitpicking and like picking me apart. She was like, I fucking hate Pisces. I don't like girls with tattoos on their faces. I don't like face tats. I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm like, bro, do you want me to call you when I care? And she's like, nah. But she was still following me around all day. And every time I turned around, I would catch her staring at me, giving me this look like I was enjoying the attention. And it was very reciprocal. I was gassing the shit out of her. She'd be like, what's your type? What do you like? I'm like, you. You are what I like. You're my type. Everything about her was all of it. There are a few things I didn't like. I don't like the way she walks. I don't like the way she stands. Bumping into me. She keeps flirting with me. Whatever. We're inside. We're doing a scene. Comes up from behind me and she's like, yo, wait a minute. You aren't one of those that likes to be with straight girls, are you? She's like, yeah, I kind of do. I was like, well, this is where we conclude. Like, this has been nice, but I'm good on that. She's like, oh, but we can still fuck. I'm like, no, the fuck we can't. I don't know what you think this is, but She's like, why are you being judgmental? I was like, because I don't play that shit. That's not what I'm here for. She's like, oh, you too gay for me. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. We stopped talking to each other for a little while at that point. We went back to Holding, sat next to me, said something along the lines of, people throw themselves at her all the time. So me telling her my story about being attracted to her, it happens to her all the time. People throw their pussies at her all the time. And I'm like, and then she's like, I don't see the point of courting. I was like, let me tell you what your problem is. I was like, your problem is that you're so used to bitches throwing themselves at you that you don't know what it is to go after what you actually like. You haven't actually even had time to think about what you like. Do you even know what you want? At the end of the day, either just pick through the bitches that like you because it's easier. It's easier just to deal with the flavor of the week, and if you don't like that one, just cancel and pick another one. But you don't bother courting anyone. You don't see anyone because you're so busy just taking what's being thrown at you. And she's sitting there like just nodding her head like, yeah. Chemistry. And they're like just nodding her head like, yeah. Chemistry was there. We were on each other, yo. We were flirting super hard. And then she's like, where you live? And I was like, I live in Jersey. She's like, so where do you go like to get home from here? I'm like, I need to go to Port Authority. She's like, I'll take you. I was like, bet. So by the end of the night, she took me to Port Authority. But then when she dropped me off, it was mad cold. She's like, I'll see you tomorrow. I was like, nah, I'm not booked for tomorrow. Or so I thought. So whatever, she pulls off. She's like, all right, text me. So I forgot to tell you guys this part. She has blonde hair, swearing that this has to be the person that I'm supposed to meet. And I was at work when I met her. So they mentioned that she was a fire sign, that there was a lot of fire in her chart. That night, I came home, and you guys saw me. I was super excited, whatever. And when I got home, I got the email that I was booked for the next day. So I got even more excited. I didn't text her or anything like that. I did look at her story, and it seemed like she was out. It seemed like she was going out, or she was doing something, whatever. And the whole time that she was giving me a ride, she kept checking her phone. She kept checking her Instagram. She kept checking her messages. Like, she was waiting for somebody to hit her up. I could feel it. So the next day, I'm walking to testing, which is a 17-minute walk from the G train. And as I'm like maybe 7 minutes away, I see her coming from testing. So I wave at her, and she waves at me, and our way of waving was blowing each other kisses, and then she started flicking her tongue at me. So there's that. Then she turns around, and we tested together, and then she's like, you want to go to breakfast? So she gives me a ride to breakfast on her bike. We get our breakfast, and then she gives me a ride back to Holding. So we get to Holding, and I sit down next to her. Like, I purposely move my desk next to her. So I sit, and as she's eating her breakfast, I start getting ready. Our other friend gets there, and she kind of like got up and made a beeline towards her, and goes to sit down with her, goes to talk with her, whatever. So I don't think nothing of it. I went back into wardrobe, I guess, to go get approved. When I came back, all her stuff was gone. Like, she had moved all her shit next to the other girl. So I was like, all right, cool. I didn't say anything about it. She went and sat outside, and I kept doing my makeup. I kept covering my tattoos. I kept doing what I had to do. When I was done, I went outside, and she's sitting out there, and she's like, you want to go to Crafty? You want to get a coffee? And I'm like, I don't drink coffee, but I'll go with you. She's like, should we take our jackets? Because what if we're needed on set? I'm like, jacket down, but all right. So now where she's seated is closer to the exit than where I'm seated. I'm seated all the way in the back by hair and makeup. So we go to Crafty, and I don't remember what we were talking about, but she started acting funny. She starts saying how she has an art show this weekend, and she needs to still put up the stuff, and it seems like it's going to be an all-day shoot, and she's not going to be able to get there on time to install her artwork. Like, she's visibly stressed out, and, you know, her whole mood changes. She goes from flirty and being sweet to just cold and a completely different person. So she got her coffee, walking back to Holding, and somebody was like, well, you're needed on set. So now she starts booking. I have little legs. I'm only 5'3". She's 5'10", and she's moving. She's like a whole block and a half in front of me. And I have very sensitive feet, so I can't be walking around all crazy. She gets to Holding before me, and she only grabs her stuff. She doesn't bother to grab my jacket. I finally make it, and she's coming out. And I'm like, you couldn't grab my stuff? She's like, well, that's a lot. And fucking just keeps walking to set. So that was a red flag for me right there. Like, okay, wow, she's inconsiderate. Cool. Got my jacket. I went to set. And at this point, I'm done. I'm not talking to her, nothing. She's standing over there with the other girl. And she's walking around with the other girl, and she's talking to this one, and she's talking to that one. The day is passing. The day is going. Like, no communication, no nothing. It's time to go change. We have to take a picture together. And then she puts her arm around me. So I'm like, oh, now you want to put your arm around me? And I push her off of me. Time passes. It's now nighttime. I've been on this stoop for hours, and I'm talking with these 3 dudes. All of a sudden, I hear Elle, and I look up, and she's there in front of me on her bike. She's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but could I talk to you for a minute? And I'm looking at her like, and I don't want to cause a scene, but I'm upset. She's like, you want to take a walk to Crafty real quick? I'm like, nah. She's like, why are you, haven't said a word to me all day. You've been walking around with Mo all day, like. And she's like, oh, you know, I've been friends with her for many years and this and that, whatever. I was like, all right, whatever. She's like, come on, let's go to Crafty. Let's go to Crafty. I was like, all right, fine. I get the bag and we start going to Crafty. She's stopping every 2 minutes on the phone. And she wants to stop and talk. She's like, come here, let me talk to you real quick. I'm like, what? She's like, why are you being so sensitive? I was like, cause I'm a Pisces. I was like, and you went from hot to cold. You are being mad weird. You're like treating me some sort of, oh, I'm not treating you no sort of way. You're just being sensitive. Whatever you feel is in your mind. It's not real. How you think I'm treating you is a figment of your imagination. And yes, she used those words. Y'all know I don't play about my emotional intelligence, and I do not take kindly to someone insulting said intelligence. So I'm pissed. Like, see, that's why I don't want a girlfriend. That's why I don't like that possessive and jealous shit. Because, you know, you can't do what you want. I just want to get more bites. I just want to work. I just want to get money. You know, I'm focused on me. And she's talking, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. I'm like half a block away from her. We get back to where we were. I sat down on my stoop. She sat down on the stoop next to me. Like 15, 20 minutes past, she calls me over, and she's trying to talk to me again. And I'm just like, bruh, all you've done all day is really just put me down and tell me all the things that you don't like about me. There's nothing you like about me. She's like, nah, that's not true. Like, I do like you, but like, and I'm like, no, you don't. Whatever. I don't even remember how the conversation ended. All I know is that we rapped and she dipped. And she didn't check on me. She didn't check for me. Nothing. She disappeared. The same way that she disappeared the first time I saw her, she disappeared the second time. She made it to her show that night. Everything turned out to be fine. Do you think that she even invited me to the fucking show? Do you think that she even bothered to text me to see if I got home all right? Do you think that she even bothered to check to see how I'm doing? Nope. And that's that.